think we're good. It's the same Zoom meeting, so I think we'll be fine. Okay. Commissioner Sakovic, are you ready? We're ready to get started on the commission meeting.
I'm ready to get started, yes.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. All right, we will call this meeting to order. This is the Board of County Commissioners for December 13th, 2023. We typically start these meetings with a prayer, reading, or thought, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Do we have a volunteer for a prayer, reading, or thought? Fantastic. That means I get to call on someone. How about Sean Buffton? You want to give us a prayer? No? Then do you want to call on somebody else? You'll do the pledge? That'll work for me. Sounds great. Thank you. He wasn't making eye contact. I figured that was the best one to call on.
Michael Lehman. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful to you for all the many blessings that we've been given. We're very grateful for this opportunity to gather here. We're grateful for all that we have been given in this county. We ask that you please bless our leaders as we deliberate today. Please guide us and direct us and give us inspiration. Help us to always keep the residents of this county the top of mind and help us to do all that we can to serve the public here, to be good stewards with the finances that we are entrusted with. Again, we're grateful for thy goodness, and we ask that please bless us with thy peace and help us to strive to be the best people that we can as we go through this holiday season. Grateful for all that we have, and this we pray for in the name of thy beloved Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Everybody rise for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We have no work sessions or recognitions today, so we will start by building our agenda. Anything that it doesn't get held or tabled or continued will go onto our consent agenda. All right, so items 1 through 10.
I think you want to hold 4.
Yep, okay. Any others?
None for me.
I'm good.
Okay. Items, let's just go 11 through 24.
Hold 16.
17 we can approve with the following names. I've got 2 here. For 17, we would reappoint Karen Ellingson. We would appoint Skylar Beltran and Lorraine Davis.
I like that. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. And then for 18, yeah, I can hand you, I've got them written here. And for 18, we are reappointing Chris Forbush and then reappointing Paul Miller as an alternate on 18. And there's that.
That's good.
And that's all I had.
None other for me.
No, none other for me.
And Paul tells us there are no closed sessions. So as long as nobody disagrees with Paul, then I say we strike 25, 26, 27, and 28.
Lovely.
Lovely. Fantastic. You want to recap that for us, Alice?
You bet. Okay, I have us holding regular agenda items number 4, 16, and then we are approving on consent 17 with the names of Karen Ellingston, Skylar Beltran, and Lorraine Davis, and approving 18 on consent with the reappointments of Chris Forbush and Paul Miller. And then as far as closed meetings, we are striking 25, 26, 27, and 28.
Sounds great. Okay. All right, we will get started with item number 4. Item number 4 is to approve and authorize a resolution in support of Utah's Jewish community and the state of Israel. I will read this. Last night, we had a wonderful event here in the historic courthouse. The local Chabad of Utah County, our local Jewish community center, came and celebrated the 6th night of Hanukkah with us, and we did a menorah lighting with members of the community at large and with our Jewish community. It was a wonderful event. We read this resolution at that, but I wanted to read it for you here before we vote on it. This is Utah County Commission resolution in support of Utah's Jewish community in the state of Israel. Whereas the Utah County Commission recognizes the importance of fostering strong international relationships based on shared values and mutual respect. And whereas the state of Israel has been a longstanding ally and friend of the United States, contributing to regional stability and promoting democratic values in the Middle East. And whereas the Jewish community has been an integral part of the cultural, social, and economic fabric of Utah, enriching our community through their diverse contributions. And whereas Utah County is now home of Chabad of Utah County, which was opened in Lehi by Rabbi Chaim and Esti Zippel in 2022 to serve as a Jewish learning center and educate the community about Judaism in a welcoming and inviting atmosphere. And whereas we affirm the importance of promoting educational programs that enhance awareness and understanding of the shared values that bind the United States, Israel, and the global Jewish community. And whereas it is essential to stand against any form of discrimination, hatred, and intolerance, including anti-Semitism, and to promote a culture of inclusivity and understanding. And whereas on October 7th, 2023, Israel was brutally attacked by Hamas, causing immense suffering and loss within the Israeli community. And whereas the violence and destruction resulting from these attacks undermine the values of peace, tolerance, and coexistence among all people. And whereas the festival of Hanukkah, celebrated by the lighting of the menorah, signifies the triumph of light over darkness and stands as a symbol of hope, unity, and resilience. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Utah County Commission recognizes and appreciates the positive contributions of the Jewish community to the social, cultural, and economic vitality of Utah County, expresses unequivocal support for the state of Israel and its right to exist as a sovereign and secure nation, and stands in solidarity with the Israeli people affected on October 7th, 2023, attacks in Israel, condemning these acts of violence and expressing unwavering support for peace, unity, and the protection of all communities affected by such tragedies. Be it further resolved that as we commemorate Hanukkah and the lighting of the menorah, we reaffirm our commitment to fostering understanding, empathy, and a shared vision of a world where light and hope prevail over darkness and division. Be it further resolved that we call upon all individuals and communities to unite in promoting peace, condemning violence, and fostering dialogue and mutual respect among diverse cultures and religions. So resolved and ordered this day, Wednesday, December 13th, 2023, Board of County Commissioners of Utah County.
Motion to approve resolution in support of Utah's Jewish community and the state of Israel.
And before I throw in my vote, I want to say that this is very crucial. It's the nature of what the United States is. It embraces all cultures to the levels that we're able to, and that this is a correct step in moving forward. So I heartily enthusiastically support this resolution.
Thank you. All right. Is that a second then? I would imagine.
I'm sorry. Yes, it's definitely a second.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. Thank you. All right. On to the most exciting part of the meeting, the budget.
Okay, Commissioners, my name is Rudy Livingston. I'm the budget manager for Utah County. And, you know, last night we spent our time in the tropics with some, leis and everything. I thought today would be appropriate to put back on the Santa hat and celebrate, the upcoming birth of our Lord Jesus Christ. Not that this represents anything along that, but he helps us to think in those lines.
We also celebrated the lighting of the menorahs. We had both last night.
Absolutely, yes, and I'm grateful for that resolution. So last week we were here with the commission and we talked about quite a few things. And we have gone back and made some adjustments. We've worked with our teams. We've talked with, got some information from Commissioner Sakovic on his decisions on some of the items on what he believes we should do. So we want to go through and there are a few changes though, some actual cleanup items that we need to address. And I just want to, if you wouldn't mind, if I could do those first, and then we can move forward with these things. As we were looking at the requests for the legislative consultants, for which we have contracts right now, and the EDC, we looked and we realized that there was actually budgeting done in two different funds. And after our discussions, we believe that it's more appropriate to have the budgets for those contracts in Fund 100 rather than in Fund 680, which is admin services. So we've moved those items out of Fund 680. So there's going to be a minor adjustment in there for those. And so then we've increased the amount of the budget in Fund 100 for those contracts. Additionally, we realized that as we discussed with the attorney's office, that we had included $1.351 million for the aggravated murder defense fund, and that actually included an extra $350,000, which would be for the first year, but that would be included in that initial buy-in. So we've reduced that amount by $350,000.
Well, and I think also we aren't necessarily ready to sign a contract yet. We're still looking at the possibility, right?
Correct.
So,
Meaning
meaning that we'll hold that money in escrow, and currently we're utilizing that for conflict defense. But if we choose to buy into the aggravated murder defense, we would roll that over to that. But we're still in the process of working with the Public Defenders Association to see if we can come to an agreement with them.
Okay, great. So for right now, that has been moved down to $1,001,000, which is what the original amount was. As we worked through the budget, we realized that we've done a lot of cutting, and while we are going to have to use fund balance to balance our budget here, we realized that it's probably not totally prudent for us to go bare bones on everything. So we felt that since we're reducing that $350,000, it would probably be appropriate to add another $500,000 in just a contingency reserve for any general items that happen during this next year. One other item that we're recommending that we add is, as we went through this last week and looked at salaries and things, we realized that there's a potential issue with the budget for the attorney's office and a couple of other positions throughout the county. And so we're advocating putting in a reserve for salary adjustments equal to $250,000 in the general fund, which we would use as needed. If not needed, it will just sit right there and be done with. Okay.
So typically, I am against such funds. However, considering the amount that we cut from requests, we know that there will be additional contingencies that come up. So I think that absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, and that's what our thought process was.
Just from last week, we've cut an additional almost $1 million
Yeah.
from the general fund.
But
Yeah,
what
quite a
exactly?
bit
I
of
guess
money.
for me, I have a little heartburn with that because I'd just rather do an adjustment, and but I do understand, just from talking to my budget team this morning, that there was an item in October in the sheriff's department, a position that was approved. We know that there is, right? So I'm okay with contingency as long as it's tied to a specific thing.
Yeah,
Otherwise, I would just rather open the budget and amend it.
Yeah, we know a court is opening in October, right? We know a court is opening in October, so that staff may be needed on both the sheriff's side and the prosecutor side for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those amounts should be fairly nominal comparatively speaking for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and so one reason why we couldn't give an actual specific number is because we just discovered this issue, potential issue with the attorney's office, and we have not quantified that completely. HR has given us an estimate of what they think it might be, so that's why we're thinking of 250,000. But we can wait. We can do it as a mid-year
No,
adjustment.
I
not a
actually
problem.
think that's not a bad idea. If you want to pull that 500,000 out and if we need it in a mid-year adjustment, because I don't think we'll need it before then.
No.
Well, I guess
I'm
being
fine
my
with
first
that.
budget, did you do a contingency last year?
We did not
In
because
other years?
We have historical.
We haven't.
We did not last year because we were more precise, but we have in years past, right? Particularly in years where we've done deficit spending, where we know there's more requests than we can possibly fund. So for example, there will be like 6 million in requests that we can't fund, and we'll put 2 million in a reserve account, knowing that of those 6 million, some of them are going to have to be covered. But with that said, I'm not opposed to doing what you want and just putting that and putting it in a mid-year adjustment, because we are going to have to do a mid-year adjustment. So I could see it both ways. I think we've been pretty detail oriented this year, and so I would feel comfortable doing that, knowing that there's a chance we have to do that mid-year.
And I would agree with that approach. I really do like the idea of doing a mid-year review and say, okay, these are the things that have come up. The reality is beginning to present themselves. So I would feel comfortable if we were to do that very thing.
I mean, so that would be what, item
497.
497?
For the
So you're
500,000.
thinking,
497.
yeah, so you're thinking eliminate item 497, Commissioner Gordon, and then if we need it for contingency purposes, we add it back in a mid-year adjustment with a more specific amount for a specific reason.
That's probably
Right.
all I'm,
can do that.
basically kind of saying.
Yeah, and that's completely reasonable. We will not run out of money before mid-year, so it's
Okay.
not an issue that will come up. We can, weather any storm until then, and not a problem. What
Commissioner
about,
Sakovic, do you have any issues with that?
I don't. I think that is a solid approach. Thank you.
All right, so let's do that. It's a
and are
modification.
there strong feelings about the 250,000 we put in for salaries adjustments? This being different from the market study, it's actually because we've identified some potential issues.
Well, if you've already identified the issues.
But we don't know the amounts. We can wait until mid-year and do it as well. It's fine. We won't run out of money between now and July.
And this would be like 1,100 funds type thing?
Yeah.
We're going to do it then.
Might as well do it too.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I can do that too. So that would be 498. We'll eliminate that $250,000 as well.
Perfect. Okay.
Man, I just like the way this is trending. We cut almost $1 million from last week, and then we just cut another 750,000. What else can we cut?
But there are two other
Be careful,
items.
you're going to lead it.
Yeah, there are two other items that were added to the new request list that we realized that there was not any on-call money set aside for the budgeted for the sheriff's department for the public information officer. I don't know how that was missed. We got the other ones.
We can
But-
just make Buff do it, right?
So there's a request for an additional, if I put my glasses on here, it helps, $13,000 for that. And just the other day, we became aware that we're going to need to do some consulting with our budget software provider to fix a few things, and that would be an additional $5,000, which is
Yep.
number 499 on the list.
I also want to, I'm just noticing as I look at this spreadsheet that was just uploaded, item number 6, the proposed line was still not updated. That
Correct.
needs to be 131,000, not just 31,000.
Yeah,
You can
and
tell Jeff I got his back.
that's actually been corrected in our file, but we caught that earlier before we got you a new version.
Okay, perfect. Just wanna make
Okay,
sure.
so with that, we had several items last week that we talked about that were to be put on hold, if you will, or to discuss later on, excluding the sheriff's department. So what I would like to do is probably walk us through those individual items that we had in our listing from last week. Some of these were because we had, we were waiting to have Commissioner Sakovic amongst us so that we could have a good discussion. I would note that item number 9 was on our list last week for $98,800 for a legal assistant. That has been stricken from the list at the department's request. We identified number 12 on our list for $21,600 for overtime, and that was also stricken from the list at the department's request. Moving on down, we have in line number 20, item 27, there was a difference on the amounts that were being requested. And we have received a request from the clerk's office to reduce that to $750,000 and change. The number that we had in here was about $720,000, so we need to determine which amount we want to go with on that one.
I'm still comfortable with the 720. I think it's close enough. It's within.
Yeah.
My only hesitation is the election cycle that we're currently beginning to enter. So that has been a little bit of a pause on my part. So I'm curious to see what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so I did notice in their budget that they hadn't even tapped into their HAVA funds. So I think they'll have $30,000 that they can switch between accounts on that just fine.
Yeah.
I mean, we're within 5% of the budget, plus I noticed they hadn't even tapped into HAVA funds, plus there's the postage fund that is available. I might know that budget a little too well. I think we're fine.
Yeah, and I had a
close enough.
discussion with the department this morning. While they would like to have the 750, they believe that they can get by with 720. And if we run into an issue,
Exactly, we're going to be doing a mid-year
we'll deal with
adjustment
it
anyway.
mid-year. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's close enough.
Okay. I'm happy with that recommendation for my part, Rudy. Thank you.
So $720,000 for item number 27.
Yeah.
There was also
20,000.
Yep. Yeah, 720,000.
Okay.
720. Did I say 720? Sorry, 720,000. Number 28. There was a difference in the amounts that were being requested. It appeared that the two commissioners, all three commissioners, now have settled on an amount of $180,000.
Okay.
So I just wanted to confirm that that has been, if that's the amount that we have in there, we do that. And similarly with number 31, there was a difference in the amounts, and all three commissioners now have settled on $36,000 for that one. Number 42, there was a difference on the amount that was requested, and all three commissioners have also settled on $6,800 for that one.
Yeah.
Line number,
And once again on that, if there is something that comes up that's
Yes.
unforeseen, we'll be doing a mid-year adjustment anyway.
right. And this was for the ballot presses, so we were still going to be testing those out and see how it works. Item number 46, there was a difference in amount that originally was on the number from Commissioner Sakovich versus Commissioner Gordon, and that's regarding the base contract with the Public Defenders Association. That amount has been agreed upon by Commissioner Sakovich at $423,900, which is the second half of what was granted to them last year, mid-year. So we have that in there with Commissioner Gardner having zero on that, as we talked about last week. The other two commissioners have $423,900.
Okay.
So that one's moving forward. There was a pool sampling vehicle, number 61. Let's back up real quick. Number 55 was not at question last week, but as we've had further discussions, number 55, really, it's being paid for from ARPA funds. So if the department is going to move forward with that, we want to move that into Fund 248 in the ARPA amount.
Well, we have a 3-year contract
Yeah.
signed, so we probably should.
Yeah. So we have that there. So number 60, I'm sorry.
Agree.
I'm sorry. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
great. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm just going too fast here sometimes. I apologize. Number 60.
Rudy, you do that all the time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So request number 61 for a pool sampling vehicle. There was is that two commissioners that have weighed in, and had an amount to provide $58,800 for that. That was kind of put on hold because Commissioner Sakovic was not here to voice his thoughts on that. So there's 2 commissioners have that amount, and 1 commissioner does not.
Okay.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree to continue with the 58,800 just because of the population growth and demand is putting on the health department for that field. To me, it seems to make sense to go forward and support that.
Okay.
Okay. Item number 122, which is employee recognition in the HR department. We've had a discussion with the department, and they have opted to strike that one from their budget request. Number 122
What's
for
that?
$3,500.
All right.
And the reasoning behind
I'm sorry?
the reasoning behind striking it.
Yeah, there are countywide sources that will pay for that now, and there weren't in prior years.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Okay. 122 strike.
So, item number 134, there were 2 commissioners that voted for this. I have it noted on here, and I think it was just, I just want to make a note that this is actually currently, this is being funded directly by ARPA money. So it's not really truly needed in the 670 budget, but next year it would be, so they wanted it on here. And so it has been approved by 2 commissioners. So we.
And I'm glad you put it there, Rudy. I'm glad you put it there, Rudy, because it helps me to make sure that we flag it as an item that will expire unless we adjust how we're going to do this in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll need to.
That's exactly why mine's 0.
Yeah, and we'll
Yeah.
and by the way, we'll need to do that for CJC and victims advocates. And
There are several, yes.
several that next year are going to hit us pretty hard.
There are many that we're going to have to address very soon.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Moving.
Last week, we had talked about a few positions at Public Works, and I'm only going to address 2 of them right now, the ones that are in general fund. So we had 2 positions. That was one for an executive assistant, which was item number 137, and 138 is for a project manager. So we wanted to confirm what the commission's thoughts are on approving these positions.
Yeah, I think the spreadsheet's correct on mine. I mean, they're both approved, but yeah. Okay.
Okay? If there's any concerns with that, we'll deal with that.
Rudy, can we go back to 122?
122.
No, the one that was after 122, that was the 52,000.
What are you talking about?
That was item 134. So where did we land on that? It's not needed this year.
No, it is. It's ARPA funded,
It's ARPA
Yeah, it's
funded.
ARPA
but
funded.
It's not out of,
but it's not out of
it's
Fund 670. It's
Correct.
it's out of Fund 248.
Yes. Okay.
but it will need to be.
Yeah, so
in
that will need to be
670.
adjusted.
Next year will
Yeah.
be.
That's where we landed. It's being funded out of.
248.
248 this year, okay.
Okay, the next item is getting onto some other positions that were requested in building maintenance. They're in this position, they requested 2 facility specialist positions and an HVAC mechanic position. There are a couple of others that are further down on the list, but these are numbers 140 and 142. The department has suggested that 140 included 2 positions, correct? And they recommend that, and this is in Building Maintenance Fund, Fund 630, they recommended that we approve one of those positions in 140 and put the other one potentially in restricted.
I'm okay with that. I had
Okay.
understood that as
If we put it restricted, is it if we feel that the press is there, do we keep it restricted or just go ahead and fund the position?
I think if it's in restricted, it would just require them to come before us to adjust the staffing plan. After they fill the first one, if the need for the second one is still there, then they come before us to fill the fast staffing plan, is pretty much all that means.
Yep.
Yeah, I figured that much. I'm just concerned. I'm looking down the road as to the demands on the department as it is, and I'm just anxious that we don't hold back what might need to be addressed now. Having said all of that, I will support it as we have it.
So 1 + 1. Got it. And that's how it's showing on here.
Okay.
So then 142 is the HVAC mechanic.
I was okay with that one. So you can, the column for me should show that.
Okay. So it looks like with that, then all three commissioners are in favor of that one. So then that one would move forward and being included in the budget.
Yep.
Good.
Okay. All right, item number 154, there was just a question because one commissioner was in favor last week and one was not necessarily. That has changed and all three commissioners are in favor of that. So that now is $2,400 added on line request number 154.
Okay.
And fun,
Yep.
I'm not even going to mention number 157. It's
Well, I
still-
didn't approve it because
It's still in there, but I would agree with Commissioner Gardner. It's like $100. Okay. Let's continue on here.
So I just want to mention on these, the next 2 pages are all
Sheriffs.
requests from the sheriff's department. And I had kind of told you where my comfort level was and then handed that over to you, Commissioner Gordon, because they're your portfolio assignment and the auditor's office. And I'm just going to trust that the lines that are in here are what, are Gina, I'm just going to have to trust that y'all did what you said, what you were going to do.
And for
I
you,
don't really have a lot of input on these because I kind of gave you my thoughts and I think that we came to a good
yeah,
conclusion.
just and so Commissioner Sakovic, and for your information as well, the finance team from our portfolio got with the sheriff's department and spent a lot of time working through some items. Some items came on, items came off that were originally in the tentative, and so on and so forth. And there was a lot of give back and a little bit of change, and I think it netted around $144,000 of a give back, if you will. And I know you and I were arm wrestling last week of about that amount to say, hey, we can fund that, and so there is, however, some just quick discussion maybe on the 4 nurses, if that's okay.
I think we need
Are
to
we
look
okay?
at all of the positions that they're requesting, but I think the total was about 580,000. Does that sound about right, Gina? That they were actually, our team worked out with the sheriff's department on the non-payroll related requests.
Non-payroll related,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
So,
So you're okay with what we have there with those? Okay, great.
Yes.
so we can
And I'm
move
just
forward
assuming
on,
it's all correct.
on those. I am Commissioner Sakovic. I'm not sure his thoughts on that, but
No, I support that. We are growing as a county. The demands on the sheriff's department is dramatically larger. It's unfortunate, but it's a reality. And so I very much concur with this.
there are a couple of items I want to point out, though. Last week, we pointed out that there was an item on here, number 224, which was for cuff ports for some of the.
Yes.
And the amounts varied in here. The department said that 250,000 is it. We realize that that's in the inmate benefit fund, and so we want to change that 150,000 to 250,000, and I believe that's what the commission wanted. So there's that. There were also an item in here on the original request by the sheriffs for $60,000 for a new greenhouse. They have 3 greenhouses and one of them is inoperable right now. And that's where they grow a lot of the food that they use at the jail and in, for other things that we do around. It was determined that probably could reasonably be paid for out of the inmate benefit fund as well as the $2,000 for a heater that they need, that one that broke for the greenhouse. And so I want to make sure that the commissioners are all okay with those movements. Moving that.
As long as the sheriff is supportive of this, I'm fully in agreement.
And I believe that the sheriff's department is. I see them nodding here, so for the record, they are in favor with that, and it'd be a good thing.
Yes, it will be.
So outside
is.
outside of that, all of their requests have been factored in. Some have been, like they said, some taken away, some adjustments made in there. But really, it's right now it's an issue really of the positions. And doggone it, I don't have the full position list in front of me here.
I think
So they had one that was in question was the school's safety officer.
Yeah. I was the only no on that, and I think I kind of went into detail a little bit about that, but I'm okay with that after conversing with the sheriff
it's okay.
this week. So
Okay.
So
Yeah, good.
you guys noted that.
Again, we had that, well, and we went into some detail on that in St. George, and the reasoning behind it to me was very solid, and I could see the need for it to go forward in supporting this. So I got it. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
319. I see that's,
Is that 319? Is that
319.
number 319, you say?
yep.
I just want to make sure that we're affirmatively catching these ones that we're talking about here. So number 319 is a definite yes. One of the others we had on here was for nurses for the jail medical facility.
Yeah.
And there was a discussion last week about maybe having two versus, two in restricted, and the department's opinion is that they really need all four of them to cover all of the shifts that are available. So, and that's item 201.
So,
Okay.
ahead. See it. And it looks like we're lined up anyway.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
So we're all good on adding 201 in?
Yeah.
Okay, great. We will move that forward.
Yeah.
Then there
the
were
question,
two.
Rudy, was
Yes.
that with that comes line item 209, 205, excuse me,
Yes.
and the discussion
Well,
earlier today with the sheriff is that some is going to be needed there. I'm a zero. Sakovich is 35,500, and then there's a give back from
What,
well, there's
Commissioner Gardner.
the increase. I mean, I think that there's still money there, right?
Yes,
And so
correct.
this is one where if we need it, we can change that in the mid-year adjustment.
This brings it down to $100,000 remaining in that line item. And that was what the sheriff said that they would need if we had all four of the nurses in there, that they would need to
They'll
have
still have $100,000 in that.
$100,000 in there.
Terrific.
There'll still be $100,000 when we come to May and we do an adjustment. If for some reason that's coming out, bring us the numbers. Does that work?
And so we can adjust that if needed mid-year. So that one will be okay.
Yeah,
I didn't drain it.
that works.
Okay.
It just looks really weird. to
Yeah,
me. That's why we got
Yeah.
three.
It does look weird, and originally we thought it was going to be a higher number, and that's why originally in the tentative was 245,000. We've revisited the numbers, and that brings it down to 100,000. So
It gives
we're
us
in
room
that,
to look and see what
and that
we
was
need.
only to be enacted if the four nurses were approved. So if that's the case, then we're good to go. The other positions that I know we have in there, and you guys are going to have to help me out with some of these positions, but there were two SVU detective positions that were requested. Initially, we talked about putting one in the budget and one into a restricted account. That could be 0, 2, 1, or.
I think for sure we were going to do one.
Okay,
And then I think the other one could be similar to the others, that once we get that one filled, if we need to, we can look mid-year, or like a lot of the positions that have been asked for in the attorney's office, we'll look at the latest would be the following year. But I think one we easily had agreement on. That
so
we needed
adding one, but not two, not even in restricted, just leaving it out altogether.
I think, what line item was that? Let me look to see what I had. I think that's what I had.
You guys have that, the SVU 217,
Okay, here we go.
287, and 288.
Oh, I think I did. I think you're right. We put one yes and one in restricted. Okay, yeah, I'm fine with that.
And is that what the consensus is?
That's what it shows on the sheet.
Okay.
Yeah, and the sheriff is happy with this arrangement thus far.
The sheriff seems to be okay with moving forward in that direction.
Got it. Okay. let's go ahead and keep that then.
Which are the other ones that we had? Which were the other positions, guys? Any other? There's one in judicial. Oh, for a bailiff. Would you know which number that was? I should have come with that on my other sheet. I have it in on a sheet, but I didn't have it here. I'm sorry.
And with that bailiff, that's where we're looking at 2.5, 3 positions.
160.
160.
And so they were asking for
Yeah.
and this was to
The new
bailiff-
juvenile court.
Serve in New George, and I think all
Right.
of the commissioners are on board with this
Yep.
now,
Yeah.
so we're okay with that one.
Yep. We are.
Okay.
We are.
All right. Well, if the commissioners have all opined on these, we can go through and look at it, and we're assuming that if all 3 or 2 of them were in favor of it, then
The sheriff's office has asked for that one to not be unrestricted because they currently have some.
I'm good.
For the bailiff.
the
Yeah.
bailiff, and
That's
I
not,
think
yeah, I was gonna say that one's not an option, right?
we
We're
talked
tasked
about
with doing court security.
putting that in
and
restricted, but the sheriff's asked for that to be in just funded straight
I'm
up.
fine with that.
Yeah, we're good with that.
And I concur. That's the right way to go.
Okay, and the judge is in place, and it's going to impact the attorneys and possibly the public defenders as well on these routes, and so
Yep.
we'll take care of these.
It will.
And
It will.
we'll leave that one there as it is then. Moving down my list here, there are a couple of items in here that, these are wildland fire. You guys all work through the wildland fire as well. So that's not an issue anymore. There are numbers 334 and 335. I have a conflicting note on here, and I just want to verify that. Three 334 and 335, are those moving forward? It looks like all 3 commissioners, I say I had a conflicting, no, and that's updated in there.
The sheriff's office has asked for that to be strict.
That they've asked for those to be taken out. So 334 and 335 are taken off of the list. And it should show a 0 in the far right column
It does.
for you. So I just wanted to verify that. Okay, now moving down, there are a couple of other items. Now we're getting into some where there were some conflicts that whether only perhaps one commissioner said yes and others didn't say anything or whatever. There's number 380, which was originally on there for $15,000, and that was facilitating the split of the clerk auditor's office, and this would be in the clerk side of it. That has been reduced to 0 on our schedule because we do not believe that's going to happen this year. And a corresponding adjustment was made on marriage license or the tax admin side of the world as well.
Yeah, and if we end up somehow getting ahead of schedule construction-wise and that happens, we would fund it when we funded the construction.
Correct.
Yeah.
The next 2 items in there, 380 and 381, were a couple of reclassification of positions that I believe have already occurred this year. And so this would just be upping the budget to cover the cost of those. One thing that we will verify is there's a little bit of a timing in here. Some of these
No, that would only be 380.
381 and 382.
No, those have not happened yet. One of them, let's see, look at which one.
I think it was 80. Was it 384?
It was 384. So
Yeah.
381 and 382 need to occur. So those will need to be in the budget.
Yes.
384 has already occurred. We just need to know if you have adjusted the budget for that.
Yeah, and I'll double check that real quick
Okay.
here. I believe our last update of the salary and benefits was beginning of November, so I'm not sure. I believe that this is not being double counted, but I will double check that.
Okay. Yeah, double
Okay.
check that one. The other two do need to occur. So
Yes,
381 occurs, 382 occurs, 384 you're going to check.
correct.
Okay.
Then we get down to number 418. Has there been a change on that? 418 was a question when we were last met. Now all three commissioners are.
One thing I wanted to mention on, oh no, it isn't restricted. Never mind, we're good. I see it.
So number 418, there was a question about that, but now all commissioners are in favor of that, so we're good there.
Yep.
Number 452, there was a question about what we were going to do with this new request from the assessor's office, and I just want to make sure
It's in restricted and we'll look
it's
at what
in
the bid is.
restricted.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll put it in restricted.
Yep. And then we'll see what the bid comes back at.
Yes.
On 383, was there a conversation that, I know there was some back and forth between
Yeah.
Mr. Vokes
So
and
it
you
did
as
get
your
added.
portfolio?
It's just kind of at the end
Okay.
Yes.
confused, but I did make at least
383
While
is
we're on
in,
it-
it's in the list now for
now, but it's just listed at the
$16,700.
very, near the end because it
Okay.
had gotten skipped.
Yeah, based on the
Yes.
information we got today, obviously, I'm comfortable with that number to match.
Okay, and that's two yes. Commissioner Sakovic was in favor, and so I think we
You
have
already
all.
had two
Yeah, it's on
yeses.
like
All
this,
three?
it's on the second to last page. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, but it did make it in.
Great. Let's look at, there was a question last week on number 469, which was for a grant writer position. Whether that, and it looks like all three commissioners are now on board with that one. That's great. And then number 470, oh, that's been moved. That was why it's on my list of moving. If we move to as I stated previously, the amount on number 472 has been reduced to $1,001,000.
And I would like, I mean, right now it says AMDF, but that needs to just say conflict defense.
Correct. We'll change that.
And then we'll see if we end up using it for the AMDF or not. But either way, it's for that purpose, but not necessarily for that contract. We'll see. Okay.
That's been done. That's been done. Those are the remainder of the items that I had highlighted. Are there any that I missed? Okay. Are there any other concerns or questions by the commissioners?
Let's see.
I don't think so. I think we're good.
Okay.
None from me. Before the meeting started, we had a $9,682,200 deficit. What does that change if we say taking out any of that contingency number? Right? So now it's under 9 million? Is that accurate? Or no?
Are you referring to the 500,000 and the 250,000?
Yes.
Yeah.
So those were not included in that number because you hadn't voted yet.
Okay, so
Okay.
perfect. So that number did not change for me.
Is there any modification to that amount, Brian?
It may modify slightly. I think we'll probably have to plug those in. So, yeah, so we'll just want to denote that in the motion.
Okay. Okay.
I think I have all my questions answered.
I do as well.
Yes, I think I'm good. Yes.
Okay. Then
Any other presentations that?
No,
we need
I
to.
don't think so.
Okay.
Do we need to spend a minute here to calculate the numbers, or do we have them up to date?
The changes discussed and balancing adjustments. So if we get that motion, I think we're good. Otherwise, we'll take a recess.
Do you
Okay,
want to let us give it a try and we'll see if you need to modify?
yeah, so what we're thinking is if there's a motion for these numbers with some wiggle room for us to clean
What
up
we've
a
discussed today.
couple of things that we've discussed today.
Here's what I've typed up. Let's see if it works. Motion to adopt the 2024 budget as presented with the following changes and any related adjustments needed to balance each fund after today's changes.
I,
Work, Paul?
I can second.
So we're
I,
adopting the changes that you
Yeah.
all agreed to today.
And I think I heard a
Yeah.
second.
we'll go ahead and adopt it. I got a second, yes.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the budget as per the discussed changes and any resulting changes to budgetary funds based off of those decisions. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, that passes 3-0. Thank you.
And just as a housekeeping measure, we will bring back the final numbers to you so that we can, if there's any concerns, then it can be,
Yep, but the budget is adopted. Okay,
wow.
Thank you again, everyone.
thank you.
Lots of hard
Yeah.
work on that. Thank you.
Phenomenal team effort. All right. That,
Thank you, Rudy.
Thank you all.
next thing on the agenda is just public comment. Do we have any public comment? Anything online? All right.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.